Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. Today's video is a very special interview that I did with my friend Bobbie Jean Brown. Many of you have messaged me about this for over a year now, so a lot of you know this interview was originally scheduled last year. Bobbie is a very busy person, and there were some scheduling conflicts that we ran into, and it took a while to be able to get this booked, and I'm very grateful for the time that she gave me to do this. So this is long awaited for quite a few of you. Those of you who are not familiar with Bobbie, fascinating story. Bobbie started out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where she was involved in the Miss Teen USA pageant. She then went out to Los Angeles, where she became a household name as one of the MTV video vixens. Bobbie is well known for several music videos from that era. Great White, Hurricane. The one she's definitely most known for is the Warrant Cherry Pie video. She was the record holder for most appearances on the show Star Search, which a lot of you know Star Search was the precursor to shows like American Idol and America's Got Talent. From there, Bobbie went on to do several TV shows, some of the very notable ones, Married with Children, Baywatch Nights, Renegade. Of course, her show that she was a star on, The Ex-Wives of Rock. She's been in films like The Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She's an author. Her last book, Dirty Rocker Boys, is a great read. And I mean, really, definitely, I highly recommend it, which is available everywhere. Amazon, Audible, Walmart, any of the major online retailers. And the best part about her story is yet to come. She has a third book that's coming out, which we talk about in the interview. I did do this in a two-part series, so today is part one. Thursday I'll be putting out part two. Many of you know I've touched on this briefly over the years. I'm a person of strong faith. Bobbie and I have something in common, which is why I really wanted to do this interview with her and why this was so long awaited. So we touch on that. That's a fascinating part of the story, Bobbie's spiritual path. And yeah, so anyway, without any further ado, here is part one of my interview with the beautiful Bobbie Jean Brown. Okay. Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I am here with my very special guest today, Bobbie Jean Brown. Bobbie, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, I mean I've been trying to connect with you to do this for a while, so it's exciting for me to finally be able to do this. And I know with my audience, many people, most of them are going to know who you are and know your story, but it's a fascinating story. So I know you're from Baton Rouge, I believe, right? And
Yes.
In your teens, you headed to California, and almost overnight, it seemed like, became a celebrity. What was that whole experience like?
Oh, wow. Is the light weird? Is it okay? It would. I feel like the light's weird, but it's okay if you're okay with it.
I'm
It
okay.
was. You okay? Okay. It was, I guess, surreal. I don't know. It was kind of like almost. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like I would think of something in my head, like, and it would happen. Like I would think, like, oh, I wanna be on Star Search one day, or I want to be a model one day, or I want to, meet this person or do that thing, and somehow it would happen. And I just didn't know that maybe I was saying prayers out loud, or God, I didn't know God at the time. I didn't know that maybe he was answering those prayers. I just felt very lucky. I felt very lucky. I felt like I landed in LA at a time where my look was thriving. And I knew that, my genre wasn't, the catwalk in New York, because I wasn't, 5'11", and I was curvier. And it was cool. I mean, it was surreal. It really was. Like, I didn't ever realize, and I still probably don't. I never have considered myself like a celebrity. Like I've never been like, oh, but I've never done that. Um, I can't really relate to that, but it happened, and so I would always be flattered when somebody would come up and be like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to meet you," or it still blows me away that people get excited. Honestly, I guess I've humbled over the years. I can't say I was always humble, but I definitely am now.
Now, was Star Search, was that your introduction to all of it? Was that your first?
No, it was music videos.
Okay.
It was
Was
being
it
in music
Hurricane?
videos. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was Hurricane, and then Great White, and Warrant, and yeah, and then Star Search came along, and that's before Warrant. And then he saw me on Star Search, and I did Warrant. And I think that was the last video I ever did. I did a bunch of music videos up until that point. I would say maybe a handful. Some did really well. Some were like, hit or misses, one hit wonder type things. But it was really, I think, Star Search really took off. And then when Cherry Pie followed that, it just blew up. It went crazy. Yeah.
Were you a big music fan? So was it exciting, or from that point of view, or no?
So I mean, I was like I had crazy enough. I had Motley Crue posters on my wall in high school, and that's the only thing we watched when we got home from school was MTV. MTV was just literally on the TV all the 20, so for me to be in music videos was like a big deal, I think. And then Star Search was an even bigger deal, and even though I didn't win the 100,000, I won more times than anybody on the history of that show. It gave me a platform to just be seen for so long, because you have the seasons, and then you had reruns the following year. And then, so I was, on everyone's TV screen every week for over a year, and more than over a year, maybe 2 years. I don't know. And then Cherry Pie went on to be number one for almost a year, or in the top 5. They had that countdown. So it gave me a lot of exposure for sure. And I got a lot of work from that.
Right. Is that how you got, like, I know you were on Married with Children. I remember that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they saw that. So basically they put me in the same outfit that I'm wearing in the Cherry Pie video, except for a different color top. But they gave me the same outfit. So yeah, they definitely saw that video and went, okay, we're going to hire her for, the Market Dweller show. So I did Market Dweller, which was 2 episodes. And yeah, that was fun. That was a good time.
was it a good experience with the cast and with everybody involved?
Absolutely. Yeah. I never set out to be an actress when I went out to LA, but I did book a lot of acting roles, and I always went in there thinking like, I'm not going to get this anyway. You know what I mean? Like I'm not even trying. It was so weird. It was like when I really wanted something, it was like they could smell it, like they could smell the fear on me or the desperation.
So I guess, so you're out there, and obviously you're, especially after the Cherry Pie video, and you're getting really big. Was it very competitive? I mean, there must have been. Were there other girls trying to compete with you for all these jobs? And
Constantly, every day, every single day. That was my life, was competing on a daily basis, which is not conducive to like maybe a sane or self-awareness, or it was just a lifestyle that you kind of had to adjust to. You either adjusted or you didn't. You either adjusted well or you didn't, and I didn't. So I kind of became addicted to drugs, and was either on or off. It depended on the day. But it was competitive. Yes, everyone was competing all day long, every day. that was my job.
God, that must have been just a ton of pressure, and then wondering who's your friend, who's not your friend.
Yes, constantly. There was so many trust issues, so many betrayals, so many, heartbreaks, not even just by men in relationships, but by friends and, people who became your friend and why. I was surrounded by yes people at one point in my life, without even realizing it, kind of thing. Yeah, it was,
Were there people trying to
it
ride
was
your
weird.
coattails, trying to get something off of knowing you, kind of thing?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I wouldn't even notice. I didn't even notice until, it would be too late, or someone who was really honest with me one day would be like, you know, you're wrong for doing that or for saying that. And I used to appreciate that so much. I remember I had a friend who literally slapped me in my cheek, and I was like mortified, like, and it was like, that was so rude. Don't you realize that you're bossing people around and you're not saying please and thank you, and you're not even asking the question? And I was like horrified, because it had never dawned on me, because nobody ever had the courage to tell me that I was being rude or inappropriate. So I was just being myself. But when that person was gracious enough to tell me, I changed. I intentionally changed. I wanted to change. I was not trying to be a rude person, or a mean person, or aggressive person, or a controlling person. I just had no self-awareness that I was doing those things. So I was always gracious to friends or people who were like, hey, that wasn't cool, or you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to know the truth. And people aren't always willing to give you that when you're in Hollywood, for sure. But yeah, I did. I learned from my mistakes, and I wanted to learn from my mistakes.
And
So that's a plus.
you definitely had a few high profile relationships, which relationships are tough enough as it is, but when you see yourself in the tabloids and on the news, that must have been bizarre.
Yeah, it's bizarre, especially when you're having like your breakdown. If when you're having a crisis, it's the worst. Um, and coping with that was just me doing more drugs. Just trying not to feel those things, or trying not to show weakness, or that I was hurt. So I always put on this, like, I guess it was like a facade, like a strong. I never wanted to seem weak or like a victim. So even when I was feeling destroyed or broken inside, I always try to put on a brave face and would joke it off. I feel like comedy comes from a lot of dark places. It really does. You try and snark it away or be sarcastic. It kind of just became my persona of pretending to be strong when I really wasn't.
Now, when you married Janie, was when you did that video and started a relationship with Janie, was that like the first of your being with another person who had notoriety like that?
Um, no, actually, I had dated Matthew Nelson previous to Janie briefly. Um, and it was, I don't know, it was kind of like no big deal to me in a way. It was different, because when we started dating, he was, every song he wrote was like almost a number one hit. You know what I mean? And it would be crazy because, I'm watching, like I Saw Red be in the top 5, and he was calling me from the road, pursuing me at the time. And, but he didn't have anything fake about him. Like, there was a stage Janie, and then there was regular Janie. So sometimes he would be on stage and I'd be like, wow, it's a performance. We are being paid to entertain. So yeah, he was a great entertainer, but he was a sweetheart. He like had a good heart. He was a good man and wanted to be a good man. He had his own demons too, but you know, we all
I crossed paths with him in Florida, and
yeah.
I was with one of the guys from Megadeth who I drum teched for, and Janie just happened to be in town in Florida one night, and I went up to the bar to meet him, and
Hmm.
it shocked me how nice, not just how nice he was, he bought me a drink, and I thought, this is weird. He doesn't know me, and there was so many people around him. Uh,
Yeah.
and he had no ego, no arrogance, no none of that. He just seemed like this guy who was just so happy to be where he was in that moment. But
Yeah.
there was a kindness to him that you could see it. And I
Yeah.
thought how strange it was to have these circles of people around him. And you're right, he did get up. I remember he got up on stage and there was a band he was playing with that were friends that he knew in Florida. And he instantly went into Who Wants to Hear Cherry Pie? I remember that, which was still like a huge hit at the time.
Yeah.
It was in regular rotation and all that. Was that, I mean, that had to be traumatic for you when that relationship fell apart. I mean, you have a daughter together, and did that
Yes.
did that change things when for you personally, your outlook on things when that fell apart?
Yeah. So he was definitely the love of my life. And I had a lot of pride around infidelity. So I grew up in a household where there was a lot of infidelity and alcoholism. And funnily enough, I married a version of my dad. My dad was a musician who was an alcoholic, but he was different in the way that Janie was not physically abusive, and my dad was to my mom. So it did change. I feel like things got worse for me. Like I felt like that trust was broken, and I felt super betrayed because we just had our child together. And when he said to me, "It doesn't mean I don't love you," that didn't make sense to me. That you would want to be with someone else, cheat, be sexual or intimate with someone else, and it not mean anything. I never understood that. So it was hard for me to forgive and forget, kind of, because it was hard for me to forget, because we're in the public eye and everybody's talking about everything. And, then one secret lets out or you separate, and then everybody comes out of the woodwork and tells you everything that's been going on. And you're like, wow, I've really been lied to this whole time. And it just seemed like I continued to pick a worse version of that relationship. Like it got worse for me. Like my picker was broken after that, I think. And obviously trust was just out of the window, but that's LA. I mean, and people are like, well, what do you expect? You're dating a musician. What do you think? And I really did think that they would never cheat on me. I really did think that I was a catch, or that I was a good woman, and that they would never want to be with anyone else. And I was blindsided by that. Like, never saw that coming. Never saw that coming. And people were like, "You're an idiot." And I was like, I just really believed our story. I believed our fairy tale. I believed our words. I believed our actions. And so yeah, I would say things got worse. Like I chose poorly, and then like I said, I became addicted. So then obviously my choices became much worse. And yeah, so he was the love of my life that I lost, I would say.
And
And that I
I would
missed.
assume
There's still so much.
as soon as you became single, I could see them coming in like vultures, like every guy going, "Oh my God," and trying to see if they could ask you out. Or, I mean, I'm sure that happened, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yes. Yes.
were you in another relationship
It did happen.
after that, or?
I was pursued. Oddly enough, everybody's like, "Why is it always musicians?" But it was like that was my, I didn't work at McDonald's, so it wasn't, you know what I mean? It was like who I was around. And but musicians did definitely come out of the woodwork, and actors. trying to pursue me, and I never really got the actor thing. The actor thing always threw me. I I really was attracted to musicians because maybe it was the thing about my dad. I don't know. But I went on a few dates ish, I would say, and just kind of always got turned off by like how they presented themselves. You know what I mean? It was always in a way that was creepy or overconfident or entitled. I don't know. I can't even explain it, but just I would just be like, ew, like who does this guy think he is? But it was who they thought they were because they were huge, they were famous, and that was never really something that I was jumping in on. I wasn't trying to find somebody famous to date, but Tommy came into the picture and pursued me very fervently, and I would call that love bombing these days. But so he was who I was with after Jamie, and then we all know where that went.
And
that
that
ended
was so
tragically.
public. That was like, I remember how
Yeah.
public that was at the time, and that had to be really frustrating.
I was traumatized by that. Yeah. I had some serious PTSD after that for sure. And my drug abuse got way heavier, and I got down to like 90 pounds. I was a mess, but we all survived. We are all here to say hello, and we live another day, speak another day, breathe another day. Thank you, Lord.
So your career continued and continued, and you were doing a TV show up to what, like 2011 or somewhere around there?
I think it was like 2014, maybe.
Okay.
Ex-Wives of Rock, yeah.
But that went like 3 or 4 seasons, right?
Yeah, it went 4 seasons. Yeah, it was great. That was the best job I've ever had, honestly. Like, just to be yourself, get paid to be yourself, and hang out with your friends. That was actually, bar none, the best job I've ever had. And I miss it terribly, too, because in the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous, or you're so dramatic. And then you walk away from that, and you're like, that was literally the best job I've ever had. I got paid to be myself and hang out with my friends. That was it.
Was it literally,
so it was
though,
great.
like waking up and having camera crews following you around? And
It became normalized. I know that sounds weird, but it became so normalized. Like, I would be mic'd and didn't even realize that the guy had come to put the mic up my shirt and down the back of my pants. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize, you just get used to it. It wasn't anything creepy, obviously, but it just became normalized. You just get used to it. And I don't know, I missed it. Honestly, I would do a reunion.
that would be great. That was a very entertaining show. It really was. And it had some
Yeah.
serious moments in it, too,
Yeah.
which
It was great.
I
Yeah,
thought
I would
about that. How the emotions, with those cameras on you, experiencing some of the things that you did, that had to be, it's so personal.
Yeah. It's cool in the way that it is so personal. And then it can also be scary in the way that it is so personal, because people watch it and they think they really know you. And sometimes that can come off, like fan is short for fanatic, and that definition is not always good. Sometimes, you get, my daughter always says, like, you and dad have some crazy fans. And I was like, well, you know what? Fan is short for fanatic. But it's, like I said, I never felt like I was a celebrity. I never walked around like assuming I was anything, special or anything like that. But I do believe I was given a platform for a certain reason and for a certain time. And I was created for all of the things that I was to experience to bring me to this very moment in time today, talking to you.
So let's get to that. So you left LA, you went back home to Louisiana. What propelled all that to happen?
COVID.
Okay.
COVID happened. And I remember asking a pastor friend of mine, and like I said, I wasn't religious at all. I believed there was a God. I would pray in moments of desperation, like car crashes and, almost miscarrying and stuff like that. I never knew you could have a relationship with the Lord, and never knew that, prayers actually could be answered. I never knew that you didn't have to worry about stuff, that you could pray about stuff. I never knew that you could pray for, my relationship, or to my husband, or my addiction, or I never knew about prayer at all. And nobody was trying to tell me about Jesus in Hollywood, for sure. And so I moved here for COVID, and I reached out to my pastor friend, because I'm feeling like, is this the end of the world type stuff? Like, what's happening here? And he was like, before you get, I go, I think I need to be with my family. I think I need to be with my family. And he was like, I think you need to get right with God first. And I was like, okay, why can't I do both? Like, not even knowing what he even meant like that. But I moved here, and COVID happened. And, all of my 37 years in Hollywood, I thought I had experienced every type of psycho you could possibly imagine. And I moved to Louisiana and almost meet my maker with a stalker who stole my identity, who tried to, hurt me with a loaded 38, and was me online for 3 years, and stole every royalty I ever created as Bobbie Brown, as me.
Mm.
In every aspect and every way that I made income as Bobbie was stolen for 3 years. So, yeah, I had a full blown identity stalker crisis, breakdown, you name it. It happened. I shaved my head, the whole thing. Like, it was the lowest low I think I've ever experienced in my entire life. Like, had no access to any of to my name, to my profiles, to my verified accounts, to my bank accounts, to my money, to any way that I was ever able to make money, in any way, shape, or form. It was stolen. And I had a complete and utter breakdown, for sure.
Yeah, I was surprised to find out when you and I first became friends, it wasn't you. And that
Wow.
that freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh my God.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, who knows when we actually met? Like,
Yeah, because I remember sending a message or something, and I forget what it was about. It was about a song or something that I don't even know what I was talking about, really. And then I got this reply back like, well, how much is it going to pay? How are you going to send me the money? And I was like, huh? It was
yeah,
really strange to me. And I said, that
yeah,
doesn't sound right. It
right,
didn't. And then it
right.
was a couple months after that, you had gotten back online and you were like, I finally got my accounts back. This is really me. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that happened. But God uses everything. And I think I needed to have that death of self for him to do what he was about to do to my heart and to my life. So I feel like that was a necessary thing that he orchestrated and allowed to happen. So when he was ready to reach out to me, that I was ready to receive him,
And
because he knows the state of our hearts.
that's how it happens. For me,
Yeah.
it was in the middle of the night. The band I was in
Yeah.
signed a record deal, and it was a band I was struggling with some issues with. It was a satanic death metal band. And
Wow.
I'm laying in my bed one night, and this light that I can't even explain
Mhm.
comes through the window. I was paralyzed. I'd have to say it was fear. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't. And finally, I was able to turn my head, and I could see this figure and just shaking his head back and forth.
Wow.
And I can't explain the feeling. I can't even explain the light. It was a light so
I
intense.
know. I know.
So when I was finally able to move and I hit the light switch on, I ran outside. I looked for footprints outside the window. I looked for every reason in the world why that could not have happened. But
Right.
it did. And I quit that band the next day. I made a lot of enemies. I knew it had to be done, and it changed everything.
Yeah,
So your story
it does.
is somewhat similar. So I want to hear that for sure. How did that experience when it happened? Was it instant?